And country music loses a legend here this week. Mac Davis, singer, songwriter, television personality, and more, passing away at the age of 78. We remember this legend here. This is the Nashville Music Line Report on the show that covers everything in the South. This is Y'all, and I'm John Rawl. Good to have you back here. And we got our friend on Music Road joining us right now, Preshias Harris. She's with Nashville Music Line, also iknowcountry.com. That's got nearly 400 country music trivia questions that you can take part in. Remember, Christmas is just a couple of months away, and if you're looking for that perfect stocking stuffer, don't forget about iknowcountry.com. And, of course, Preshias is also a music career development consultant, and she helps new and aspiring artists and songwriters. collegeofsongology.com is the website where you can learn more. Her blog is nashvillemusicline.com, and Preshias Harris is on right now on the Y'all Show to talk about the passage of Mac Davis and other country music notes from Music Row. Hey there.
It's just a very solemn note this morning. I actually found out yesterday evening about the passing of Mac, and there are so many wonderful memories of, because he's actually one of my all-time favorite singers. I remember my mother bought two 45s when Baby Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me came out, because she knew that I would wear mine out and grab another one. So she actually had her one for herself. And just getting to meet him and watch him, how he acted around, because he really, even though they say he split his time between California and Tennessee, he was really a part of the Music Row weave here in the community. And anytime someone needed something, whether it was NSAI, he was always jump up to help. And he actually had been a BMI writer since 1964. And it's almost too hard to comprehend because I was born in 62 and I'm 58. So I'm thinking in 1964, so he had to be a BMI writer. Part of the BMI family was the statement his manager made on the press release. That had to be 56 years. And his manager had been managing him for over 40. So it just goes to show that, that once he got his foot in the door, which he started out promoting records through VJ Records and some other things, rack jobbing they called it. He already felt that because he was from Texas, Lubbock, Texas. And he ended up leaving there when he turned 18 to a father.
He left it in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, he did. Actually, that's the song he wrote. And he went to live with his mother in Atlanta. So he got, like I said, it didn't quite work out for what he thought it was going to be. So he wanted to be in the business. So he started working in radio promotions and things for VJ Records. And there was another early 70s label. But like I said, he ended up getting nominated for Grammy for Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me. And of course, the songs that he's written for Elvis that went on to be huge classics. But, very sad this morning when I read it.
Preshias, Mac Davis, like people like Jerry Reed and Eddie Rabbitt and more, they were part of that team, a very small team of songwriters who found success with the king of rock and roll, but also found success as music songwriters as well as artists in Nashville. And I don't know how you rate Mac Davis's Elvis discography with these other people like Eddie Rabbitt, Jerry Reed, and more. But based on what I'm seeing, he might have been the number one Nashville singer-songwriter that had success with Elvis Presley.
Yes, I remember Eddie Rabbitt's actually first cousin was almost his twin. I went to school with my husband in England, but Eddie was fortunately he passed away from cancer. But I think Eddie had 2 or 3 songs, but it's timing. The Colonel was still very much involved in Elvis's career in the early 70s and mid 70s. But the people that he was working with that had the line into Elvis, they would say, "Hey, you got to hear this song." And, and Matt was very well networked, and I can't remember the guy's name now, but he had memories. And then he had little less conversation, and I believe in music. And some of these songs were literally had been mainstays for Elvis's last 3 or 4 years of recording, even though they recorded early. A lot of them came back and became good. I think it's in the press release that Little Less Conversation was not really a number one record, but it became one of the most recorded songs and most used songs for things after Elvis passed away in '77. Um, but his songs recorded by Dolly Parton, Glenn Campbell. Dolly actually reached out to him when she went to Hollywood to get her peripheral vision right on how to manage Hollywood.
Hmm.
But he had stuff recorded by Bruno Mars and Johnny Cash, and I think they said, of course, Glenn Campbell was in part of the Wrecking Crew in the band out there in L.A., and Tammy Wynette and Andy Williams. Like I said, his career spans as a songwriter at least from him. He was probably a songwriter before that, but the actual being part of a performing rights organization, BMI said they were happy to call him a member since 1964. So that's 56 years of a wonderful, legendary songwriter career. And it's just so sad. So sad.
78 years old, Mac Davis, as we lost him this week. And one good news, if there's any good news about the passage of a giant like Mac Davis, is he leaves that discography, that long, long list of songs that he both sang and that he recorded or that he had others record and make hits out of, like Elvis. And I got to ask you, oh, Lord, it's hard to be humble. What's your thoughts on that song?
Well, that song actually has a special meaning to me. My mother-in-law, which unfortunately I never got to meet, anyway, she had Alzheimer's and dementia, severe. She lived till she was 95 or 96. She didn't recognize none of her family, and she couldn't speak to actually make sentences or to say hello and goodbye.
Yeah.
She would nod her head. But every once in a while, she would break out in the song, "It's Hard to Be Humble." And everybody just light up the room at the nursing home in England. And I thought that was a very good, wonderful ode. I actually emailed Mac's publicist that sent the email, and I said, it's amazing how something so small as words and music on a song can keep you in wonderful memories throughout your lifetime. She literally saying, "It's so hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way," and she would just keep repeating it, and then she'd go to another line she could remember. So it's amazing how those 15 or 20 words lives with you I think my husband's 72 next week, and he said that's the one thing he remembers is when he went to visit her in England, that she would crack out that song, and he said it made him become actually more of a Mac Davis fan than what he already was.
How about that? I'm glad I asked that question. I had no idea about that. I've got to give my personal favorite for Mac Davis music was one he had out in the early 80s. And Precious, this is a song title. I'm not announcing this to you on the show to embarrass you, but the song, "I Never Made Love Till I Made It With You."
I know. I heard about that song. I actually was going to try to listen last night, but by the time I heard the things happening last night, it was a little bit too late to be listening to the radio at midnight. But I should have looked it up because I loved everything he did. Like I said, I remember, I bet I download Baby Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me about 15 times because I don't have to transfer one song to the other song when I get a new computer or a new iPad or a phone. So, at least, and we lost another country artist yesterday too. It was just a bad day in country music.
Yeah, Mac Davis, again, we lost him this week at the age of 78. Precious?
Yes.
Who else did we lose this week?
Helen Reddy. And, I'm Woman, Hear Me Roar, which is one of the most out there songs about women's rights that used to be. It actually was literally one of those songs at the time and was impeccable at the time. Also, a year ago, I saw where Carly Pierce had sent a wonderful tribute letter to Busby, which is her producer, who also, I think, died a year ago yesterday. So, everybody's very solemn. But the good thing is they've left us some wonderful memories and some wonderful music for us to have and cherish. So, I'm going to probably have a Mac Davis all night listening session when I get a chance in the next couple of weeks.
You do that, Precious, but to keep in mind, as sad as it is to lose legends like Mac Davis and Miss Reddy and others, and just when you think, my goodness, they're all gone, all the great ones are gone, one thing you can smile and be happy about is the killer is still with us, as he had a birthday this week. Jerry Lee Lewis from
I saw
Faraday,
that.
Louisiana, born in 1935. So what is he, 80, 85 years young? The killer?
He, I think he's 2 years older than my dad.
Yeah,
So
85 is his age.
85, yeah,
And
85.
he shares the same birthday as Gene Autry, the singing cowboy who we lost at the age of 91 back in 1998. Another birthday this week was Karen Fairchild. Supposedly, there's a rumor going around that she's 51. I think she's more like 21. My goodness, what a babe. Little Big Town singer Karen Fairchild with a birthday this week. Hey, how about Marty Stewart? This guy doesn't age. He had a birthday this week. He is now 62 years young with a birthday, born in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Also, Eddie Montgomery with a birthday this week. Eddie turned 57 years young, Kentucky boy. Then you also have a birthday for this week, Greg Jennings, Restless Heart. I think Greg is the keyboard player. Does that sound right? Greg Jennings?
Yes, yes. I'm
Okay.
thinking of another band. Yes,
Greg, I think he's the keyboard player. What a
yes.
just an incredible group, Restless Heart, and Greg with a birthday this week. And then we lost him many years ago, born in Biloxi, Mississippi. Chris Ledoux, born this week back in 1948. Those are some of the birthdays for this week. I'm going to go ahead and ask the trivia question here on the Y'all Show, if you don't mind. The trivia question this week: in September of 2005, who had a hit with "Who'd You'd Be Today," a song in which the narrator describes how much he misses a person who has passed away? The song "Who You'd Be Today," number one, in September of 2005, 15 short years ago. We'll have that trivia question answered momentarily. We are continuing our conversation with our lady on Music Row, Preshias Harris. If you have a question, comment about music, if you've got a favorite entertainer question you might want to ask, feel free on our Facebook chat to fire away to Miss Precious, also known as Mama P, and we'll find out what she knows about what's going on Music Row here these days. All right, Precious, I saw this come across. I wanted to get your take on Carrie Underwood. She's going to perform songs from her first full-length Christmas album, My Gift, and these songs are going to be backed by an orchestra as part of a special for HBO Max. Can you tell me more about Carrie and Christmas?
Well, this is Carrie's actually first Christmas record. Uh, and I did see that she is excited about it because I just can't believe she hadn't done a Christmas record because she really is very much um, a faith, follow your faith person, and she's not ashamed to tell you she's a Christian, her or her husband, Mike. Um, but this, it's going to be out on vinyl November the 30th, which I'm pretty excited. I mean, October 30th. But she is her first full length Christmas album. I'm not for sure if she'd actually had like a one off single or something just for something special or a show or a special or anything like that. But I'm excited to see because I heard she's got maybe has some new ones and some traditional songs added, and of course Dolly's got one coming out. But I'm excited to hear Carrie's. Dolly, I've been a fan of, and I've heard many of her Christmas tunes. But Carrie, not realizing that she had not had a Christmas album out, I was really surprised. I kept thinking that was when I saw that. I'm like, "Are you sure?" And sure enough, it's her first full length Christmas record. So I don't know if that makes a difference. It's called My Gift.
Mm-hmm. Another new record coming out. This one is not necessarily in the Christmas genre, but how about Chris Stapleton, a Kentucky product? He's got Starting Over coming out soon, and he's got a song called Cold to lead off the effort here. What more can you tell us about your Kentuckian Chris Stapleton?
Well, Code is the second single off the record, of course, and then, but he actually had this album finished in February, end of February, 1st of March. So they actually put it on the back track, and he produced it with Dave Cobb, his good friend. And the track also, a lot of the songs he used his band, and Dave collaborated on the songs. But the video is supposed to be coming out, Code, in the next. I think it's already out, but the video is just amazing with
Becky
Becky.
Fluke directed that.
Becky Fluke, yes, and his album has already got critical acclaim already, and it's only working on the second single. Usually, you'll have the critical acclaim that comes once they have 5 or 6 number ones off of it, then you get the kudos. Oh, this is a great record.
Mm-hmm.
But with him, for him to already have critical acclaim on it. So, but you can pre-order it right now. You can go at it's called the Starting Over album. But if you go to chrisstapleton.com, there's a link that links to wherever you want to purchase it on Amazon Music or Spotify or however you want to use the digital / streaming services for your phone or your iPad. But you go to chrisstapleton.com and you'll find all the releases, how to get them, and how to watch the videos. And it's worth it. Of course, I love Chris, and he's from Kentucky. What can I say?
Yes, well, that's fantastic news about Chris Stapleton. But Precious, I might need to run to the bathroom real quick before we get on to this next forthcoming project, a new music project, because, man, I'm excited. I've been seeing some stuff come out about it, but I didn't really fully understand what it was. But Marty and Mike, sounds like a sitcom, doesn't it? Marty and Mike? No. Those are the 2 long-standing members of Shenandoah, and you're going to see a brand new Shenandoah album, and they are teaming up with a bunch of heavy hitters in country music to come out with this new record. Do tell us more.
It's supposed to be this is their first full-length album. They could have had a smaller one, I think, but this is their first full-length, 10 songs or more. I think it's 12 songs actually, since 1994. And I actually just got an email from their manager about an hour before I got on the air.
Read it. Pull it up right now. Let's see it.
No. Anyway, I was congratulating on him and supporting, because I remember last year he had asked me about some of the people that I felt like, that would be interested in doing the record. And we were just talking at the radio show. I think we were a country rodeo seminar. And I said, anytime you mention Shenandoah, they have influenced everybody in country music for the last 25 years. So, and I gave him some names, and I'm looking to see that actually 2 of the names are on here. So I'm pretty excited about that. And so we got Ashley McBryde. Let me read it. Blake Shelton, of course. Blake loves Shenandoah. He used to sing their covers when he was opening up for other artists. And Luke Bryan, Lady A, Zach Brown, Carly Pierce, Cody Johnson, and Brad Paisley. And one of my favorite new females on the site, Ashley McBryde. And so they've had 13 number 1 hits and I think 26 charting singles. But yeah, I love some Shenandoah. I can't help it. We used to eat at the Longhorn. Mike McGuire and I were hang out, come there. He said, "You come to drink your coffee," because he knew I wasn't drinking any alcohol, And I said, yeah. Like I said, just watching them grow up. And then they were there at the Inspirational Country Music Awards about 3 years ago. We got to do that. And of course, Marty was there. One of the kids was out there parking cars, and it was like 100 degrees outside in October. And he said, "Come on, give me a hug." And she said, "No, it's okay, Marty. I've been out here parking cars, and I've, a little bit sweaty." He said, "Oh, I don't care. Give me a hug." He said, "You always park my car close." Yeah. So I thought that was very sweet of Marty. But he came in there and he said, "Can I have my picture taken with all the girls?" We're like, "Well, yeah." So over there on the shelf, you can't see it, is the picture of all of us girls with Marty. And at first I was going to think, do I really want to be a germ? And I'm like, well, I'm not really a germ, because we were friends for many years and I've never, ever had a picture. This is a very special night for him because he asked us to take a picture. We didn't ask him. So I'm like, yeah, we can do that. That's changing the germ thing around.
A double reason to be excited about this new Shenandoah project. The first single is "I'd Take Another One of Those," and it's a collaboration with another music group that we haven't heard from in a while, and that's a song with Zach Brown Band. So Shenandoah and the ZBB together with "I'd Take Another One of Those." Hopefully that'll be your next biggest hit on country radio.
Yeah, of course, you can't. I mean, I love Zach Brown. I know that they have, the pandemic sort of helped it. Basically, they've had some things going on the personal side, but I'm glad to see that they're coming with Shenandoah, because everybody loves Shenandoah.
What's been going on the personal side?
It never goes away. Oh, totally, dear.
What's been going on the personal side?
Oh, I think Zach May went through a divorce a couple of years ago, the lead singer. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the group they still have their record label, Southern Ground, down here. I know they've got new music and they're on the pitch seat here in Nashville. So I'm hoping we'll see something soon. Uh, it's I love them chicken fried. When I'm feeling really, really going down the road and I know I got a road trip, I always make sure I got chicken fried and a couple of other uh, Wind in My Hair and some other cool road tripping songs on my little thumb drive so I can play it on my road trip.
That's what we like to hear when we like good music and we like good news. And we're going to get both here. Precious, let's keep the good news coming. The Grand Ole Opry in the news. The Grand Lady of Country Music celebrating its 95th birthday this year. And Precious, this weekend, for the first time since roughly early March, fans will be in the audience at the Grand Ole Opry House.
Yeah, I think they might have been there for, I wonder if she might have been, not the Grand Opry, it might have been the Ryman for Scotty McCreery, but they were practicing social distancing, 6 feet apart, and mask, of course. But yeah, October the 3rd, it's sort of ironic you should say that because some of the guests are Terry Clark and Dirk Bentley and Lori Morgan, of course, Vince Gill. But 15 years ago, the Grand Ole Opry was on October the 1st. And there was a special induction, like I was telling you. It was Dirk Bentley who got inducted in 2005 on
You
October.
better know that since
It's
I
my
think I
wedding
just,
date. I
yeah, it's your
know.
wedding day. And
Yeah,
I guess it'd be your 15th wedding anniversary?
yeah, 15th wedding anniversary tomorrow. Yeah, Thursday. And so
Your
it was,
husband's put up with you for 15 years?
yes, I know it's what my cousin said. He said, "You finally found someone to take you off your daddy's hands." And I'm like, "What? My daddy's, he had me in his hands since I was 25, you know?" Because I moved in, honey, as soon as I could get to Nashville, I know that's Southern, honey, but anyway, I was down here, knocking on doors and trying to get in foot in the door and understand what it really meant. I was just lucky my first day in Nashville that I ran into some really good people and that had saw the potential and knew that I had really worked hard and learned a lot about the business. And I just didn't walk in going, I think I want to be in the music industry. I had already did my research because like I said, already been in the business, around the business with my family, with my cousins being the Everlys and my mother being a gospel artist. I had already been around the business since I was 8 that I can remember, like filling out publishing forms for my mom and typing up lyric sheets. So I had already been in the know of the industry. I just didn't realize that there were some bad parts of it until later down the line.
Do you mind if
So,
I ask this question? You mentioned how you kind of on a dare came on down to Nashville and you got lucky your first day. Are you still in touch with and or friends with some of those people you met on that very first encounter in Nashville?
oh yes, I always reach out to him. His name is Jim Delacroce, who gave me my first job in the industry.
I know who that is. He used to be the head of RCA Records.
Yes, and a lot. I mean, of course, the other ones I see, we laugh like we were at the when I interned. Mike Sistad, who was in the mailroom at Arista, is now senior vice president of ASCAP. So he was down the hall. I was in media. Then there was the tape room where Dan Hodges worked, and I just found out. I saw Dan the other day when I went for a meeting at the Ruckus Room with Jamie for one of my songwriters. I said, "Oh hey, Dan." He goes, "Oh hey, Precious." And
You
I was
still in town, Precious? Is that what he
yeah.
said?
Oh, well, we saw each other at Kelsey Ballerini's #1 party.
Ah,
We were laughing about being the 3 years ago in the hallway, and then where we are now, 20 something years later, not in the same hallway, but in the same business. And,
yeah.
but the funny thing is that Dan, I found out, signed a guy named I was watching the songwriter show. I always watch it on, National Public Television. And they had Byron Hill. And of course, Full Hearted Memory was his big hit for George Strait. And so I was reading it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I got a new publishing deal with Dan Hodges." And I went, "Yes, yes." So it's so funny to see that after all these years, it's still coming full circle. And when that song was big and he was becoming a semi mega hit, of course, he was inducted in the National Songwriters Hall of Fame, I think, in 2018. Yes. Anyway, but it's so funny to see that the kid I was interning down the hall with is now the publishing company that he is signed with. And it's just like a really cool paying it forward, come full circle to someone who really deserves it.
Yeah, and I brought up the question about if you're still in touch with those people you met on your very first day, because one of the things we try to stress here in our Nashville music line with Precious is the fact that no matter where you are watching this, listening to us here at the Y'all Show, y'all.com, if you have an interest in music, perhaps you want to be a singer, perhaps you want to be a songwriter, and perhaps you've done a little bit of that wherever you may call home, unless you get to Nashville and start knocking on doors and making connections, your effort to become successful is a lot more challenging unless you get to Nashville and maybe improve your odds of making it. I am an example of someone who went to Nashville, and I met Preshias before I even went there. Believe it or not, I met her on the telephone. Could you imagine, Preshias, that you and I would strike up a friendship over the telephone? Well, it actually happened that way, and then one thing led to another, and we've been friends now for, 28 years, and it all happened there because of the connection to Nashville. So my point is, if you've been sitting in the lazy boy and you're thinking, one of these days I'm going to get to Nashville and I'm going to make an effort. Well, I'm telling you right now, get up and do it.
As a matter
Can
of
I
fact,
have an amen?
amen. As a matter of fact, I had a client come in I've never met through one of my radio friends that I knew years ago. And he actually worked with him years ago when I was working at Cupid Records. And he's actually bringing me a client from his high school, someone who wants to, he owns his own company now, and he's empty nester, free to go and do what he wants to do. So he wants to, and he's been writing and singing for years, but he actually just wants to start doing it on the level of the next step up, which is being a national, being part of a songwriting community. And then about midnight last night, I was texting one of my clients in South Carolina who plays gigs all up and down the coast, who wants to come to Nashville to live and work on his songwriting. He's actually a very good artist. And so if you can handle going back home to gig and writing up here, it's a lot of traveling. I said, but, you must, now some of them said, oh, you don't have to be present to win. But, I've seen very few success stories where the artist was not present here and had to be here. Like, for instance, Willie was here when he got famous, but he moved away once he made his money. Same thing with George Strait. He always had an apartment here when he was really having to do the business to get to the top of the charts. So everybody had to have some kind of foot stamp on Music Row or on the 5 blocks, either in business or working with relationships to get to the next level. It's hard. It is hard being away from family, because my family is only 2 hours away, and it feels like eternity sometimes with schedules. But, if you don't do it, one of these days you're going to say, oh, I wish I would have did that when I was younger and not did it. But I have 2 new kids that's been here, don't know anybody, moved here cold turkey, one from Arkansas, one from Louisiana, and they're very talented. And when they get here, they realize there's a whole lot of other talented people as talented as they are. But the most important thing is to make friendships and do relationships. Like, I'll send an email and said, I want you to meet this client and you meet this client. You all set up a writing session. I feel like it would be a good fit for both your styles of music. One just wants to be a lyricist and a songwriter. One wants to be an artist and he plays guitar. And once they establish that relationship, unlike some companies here in town that wants to pinhole and watch everything you do, I trust them to have a good relationship, because I want my relationship with them to be where I brought them together with people that I think would help their career, and they build their own relationships, because it is a city that's built on relationships, sustainability through the friends and the network situation in Nashville. It's a very small town, as I found out the other day, very small.
Yeah. You mentioned Willie Nelson. He made the brave, bold move to go to Davidson County, Tennessee at one point in his life. And another aspiring singer-songwriter also made that bold move, not quite as far from East Tennessee, over to Davidson County for young Dolly Parton. And some Dolly Parton news. If you want to see more of Dolly Parton, and who doesn't want to see more of Dolly Parton, the Ultimate Collection is headed your way. This is a first ever DVD collection highlighting Dolly's amazing career, and this is going to provide you lots and lots and lots of Dolly, a very good 19 DVD set, 19 disc
19.
DVD
I had
set.
to read that twice.
That's bigger than Dolly.
I'm like, 19? But, we watched a special the other day called Dolly Biopic on something. We had it taped for a year, and I just had to watch it. And I was like, wow. It had to be England because they missed a lot of things that they didn't mention. Talked about 9 to 5 a lot, and they had a lot of cutaways with Jane Fonda
Yeah.
and Lily Tomlin, but they did not have Sylvester Stallone. And of course, not Burt Reynolds. It looked like it had been a while because, Burt's passed. But she had Best Little Whorehouse with Burt Reynolds. It was not mentioned in the biopic. Neither were Rhinestone Cowboy, which was not Dolly's song. It was actually one of my good friends wrote Rhinestone Cowboy. And of course, Glenn Campbell took it to the top of the charts. But it was based on, Sylvester Stallone was the lead with Dolly in the movie. But that was not mentioned in the biopic. So the only thing I could think was that it was somehow or another connected to a British production company because I didn't get to see the end of it because the taping did not. Taped it. I forgot to add an extra 3 minutes. But just the one, it was a 2 hour special. Just the special, I'm like, oh my gosh, they left out so much that I know of. Just they did a little bit of Dollywood and things like that, but just her things with she's donated over 1.2 million books for her charity, to help kids read. Because I didn't realize that Dolly's father did not know how to read or write. And yeah, and I didn't know that until the biopic. I mean, I knew that they had limited education because my grandfather only had 6th grade education, but years down the road, he's painting inside of the Fort Knox where the gold is because his reputation is gold, so to speak. And they knew when they could trust, and his background check was perfect.
I like how you said that his reputation's gold when he's painting there at Fort Knox.
Yeah.
Precious,
he also was the minister, so yeah.
Yeah. We want to remind people Dolly Parton's got the new Holly Dolly Christmas album. If you are looking for some new music for the holiday, Dolly's Holly Dolly Christmas. And Precious, I don't mean to be creepy when I ask this question. I think it's at least common knowledge for the ladies out there. But if you don't mind, if you've heard this, or you could maybe give us an educated guess, if I wanted to buy Dolly Parton a bra for Christmas, do you know what size I would pick out for her?
Yes. NYB.
None of your business?
Yes.
Okay, I thought she loves to talk about that. That's why I thought it was common knowledge what she is. So but would I pick the biggest one they sell in a store? Probably. Is that a good guess? No. Okay. No. All right. Well, like I said, Dolly's made a career out of talking about that. So
I'll tell you also a lot. If you look at the proportion, her waist, she naturally has a small waist. Even when she said she was in her heaviest, she still had a very tiny waist. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really good at math, but when things are smaller, things above it looks taller, and things below it look smaller. Sometimes it just depends on what the proportion is, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Precious, somebody watching this right now is going to go out to Walmart and ask for that size in NYB. You know it's going to happen. Hey, let's give people a quick update on what's going on the chart. Number 1, I told you Sumter, South Carolina's own Lee Brice would hit number 1, and he sure has with One of Them Girls. Congratulations to the Clemson alumnus. At number 2 this week, Luke Combs and Lovin' on You. 3 is Kane Brown's Cool Again. 4, Got What I Got from Jason Aldean. And number 5, Jameson Rogers' Some Girls. Let's answer that trivia question that we asked a few moments ago. It was back in September of 2005. This person had a hit with Who You'd Be Today, a song in which the narrator describes how much he misses a person who has passed away. And Preshias Harris, our maven on Music Row, what's that trivia question answer?
It's Kenny Chesney, and it was actually released the month before I was married in 2005. So it was released in September. But Amy Mayo and Bill Luther, who are massive hit writers here in town, had co-written it. But I remember, a lot of people don't remember that Kenny Chesney made his mark with a cowboy hat. And he was one of the hat acts, they call them, in the 90s, which was Garth, Clint Black, Alan Jackson, Chris Ledoux later on in the 90s, and Kenny, and of course later on Trace Atkins. But I realized most of the 90s country had a cowboy hat on. Neil McCoy, Confederate Railroad, not so much. But Tracy Lawrence, had his beautiful curly mullet. And but yeah, and Kenny was one of those hat acts. But he got he actually, when he's had the same producer for years, Buddy Cannon, but Kenny has always had the ability to pick really, really great songs, and also has had, because of his relationships, he's also had people on Music Row. He always listens to the song. It's not about who wrote the song or things like that. It's the best song wins on his record, and it's proved to be a very financial and a very good move for his career. But I said Kenny. Remember him and Tim McGraw and some of the others used to two-step out on Murfreesboro Road, a little place. It's gone now, but it was called Silverados. And you walk in there on Saturday night in the end of '90s, early '91 and '92, and the people that were coming in, they would go there and we'd two-step. And the only one that couldn't two-step was me. Because I can't roller skate and I can't two-step. So, but I sure got a kick out of watching everybody two-step.
And Precious, if those who are watching or listening to us at y'all.com want to relive those '90s and the two-stepping and all that, the place you mentioned there on Murfreesboro Road in Nashville, if you want to see what that place looked like, just go into YouTube and search for Mark Colley and the music video for Born to Love You. You probably are in that video.
Well, actually, I was on the set. I was not in the video because I couldn't dance.
Yeah. There's a good blast from the '90s. Mark Colley out of, let's see, Wayne County, Tennessee is where he's from, Waynesboro.
The best thing about that DJ, if you had a CD or a cassette of your new single, like if Tracy walked in his new single, I just say Sticks and Stones, he would say, okay, hey, here we're going to play Mr. So-and-so over here sitting, dancing. We're going to play his single coming out. But he would actually play music that was not really snuck into him, because back then you had a distribution service and you got a CD in the mail. If you're a radio station, they ask you to play the record and they call it and they promote the record. But he was very adamant about playing new music. So he was probably one of the first DJs, and I wish I could remember his name. That was
at that club.
At the club, yeah, at Silverados. Because there was something called, as a matter of fact, me and remember Billy Ray Cyrus. That's how they broke him with the Achy Breaky Heart. They actually had a dance created for him by some of the dance, choreographers, and they created it. And that, of course, that was every night, at least 3 times a night. I got really sick of that song when it came out. I'm just telling you.
I think I'm going way back to the back of my brain for this, but if I am not mistaken, we're pushing 30 years here with this memory. The DJ of which you speak there on Murfreesboro Road, I think he's the one that also went in and produced a lot of those dance mixes for a lot of these songs. Is that right?
Yes, he did.
Same guy? Yeah,
Dixie Dance Kings was the service that was distributed, all the different dances and stuff, because line dancing was huge. They had an entire 2 pages dedicated in Country Weekly back then of this week's line dance with all the moves on the page and the steps, and I'm like right over my head because I can't even skate, much less step.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's
a lot of good country songs that were great on their own had those dance mix versions. Like Chattahoochee, as an example, has a dance mix, and one of my favorite dance mix versions is Watermelon Crawl, Tracy Byrd. That was a darn good one. But those are some of the great memories of the 1990s. And you mentioned those who wore cowboy hats in the 1990s. You left one off.
Garth, Clint, Allen.
This one might be the easiest one of all to not forget.
Wade Hayes.
Sorry.
Okay, tell me.
Terry Clark.
Oh, yes.
Because she was the only female that wore country music.
I know, but I was thinking of tight jeans and cowboy hats. I should have, yeah.
Yeah, and I loved her in that hat, and I like her music too.
Well, she's got that perfect hair for it too. Oh, by the way, Tracy Bird's got a new single coming out. I'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, talk about that next week. Well, let me wrap up with you with one more thing. This is kind of neat coming from a veteran country music legend who's doing something extremely trendy right now. Reba McEntire, she's going to have her own podcast out right now, and you can catch it on Spotify if you get a chance to tune in. Do that. It's called, what is it called, Precious? I had it up here. Reba McEntire, she's got a re-release of her, what's it, Rumor?
It's 30 years. Rumor has it.
Yeah, Rumor has it, 30 year. Yeah. The podcast is called Living and Learning with Reba McEntire, and that is only on Spotify. You can get more details at reba.com, also on her Facebook page. So kudos on her new podcast, Reba McEntire. Precious, thank you.
I love Miss Reba.
She makes redheads look awesome, and you make blondes look great. So we got all the hair colors covered here on the Y'all Show.
I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but I'm getting a press release, the third one today from Mac Davis across my screen.
Are you
so
really?
I'm not going like this on purpose. I was just trying to see your face so I could look over it.
Yeah, no, we understand. That's why we have you on, to give us the latest of what's going on in the entertainment business. Again, Preshias Harris, music career development consultant who helps out aspiring artists and songwriters. collegeofsongknowledge.com is the website. Her blog, NashvilleMusicLine.com. And don't forget that she's the author of I Know Country, and that's got nearly 400 country music questions and answers. Go and instantly download your own ebook copy at iknowcountry.com. And she helps out those who want to be singers and songwriters. Just go to the website, NashvilleMusicLine.com, and you can get connected to our own Preshias Harris, our insider on Music Row for y'all.com. Precious, thank you, and have a good rest of your week.
You too, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
All right, and we'll get it all covered then, everybody. Preshias Harris, and that will wrap up our conversation on the show that covers the South. Thanks for tuning in.